I, 35M, have always been a planner. My life runs on logic and clear communication. My wife, Qley, 33F, was the spontaneous one. I thought the contrast worked for us until last week. Qley was on a 3-day business trip for a major product conference. These trips were normal for her marketing job at a large tech firm. On what should have been her last day, my phone buzzed. Qley, hey, this conference is amazing. So much to learn. Might extend this a few more days with my colleague Mark to work on the new project rollout. Hope that's okay. A chill went down my spine. Mark is her department head, a name that had been popping up a lot lately. The request fell off. Hope that's okay. Wasn't a question, it was a notification. Trying to stay logical, I replied. Me, take all the time you need. Then, I started looking at the data. She'd posted a picture to her public Instagram story a day earlier. A generic shot of a conference hall captioned, "So much to learn." #work-life. Something about it looked familiar, almost too perfect. My unease grew. On a whim, I checked the social media of a mutual friend who I knew was vacationing a few hours from the conference city. And there it was. In the background of a selfie she took by a pool bar were two figures. Blurry, but unmistakable. Qley, laughing, with her head thrown back. And Mark, his hand resting casually on the small of her back. They were holding cocktails, not laptops. The calm I felt was terrifying. It wasn't rage. It was the quiet hum of a machine switching on. She wasn't on a business trip. She was on a vacation with her boss, on the company's dime, and lying to my face. I found Mark's full name in an old company newsletter. A quick social media search brought me to his wife's profile. Sarah. Pictures of their 2 kids, a golden retriever. My stomach twisted. She deserved to know. This wasn't about screaming matches. This was about consequences. I took a deep breath and sent her message. Hi, Sarah. My name is Liam, Qley's husband. I know this is incredibly forward, but I believe our spouses are on a business trip together. I have some information that I think you need to see. Would you be free to meet for coffee tomorrow? The first move was made. Update 1 week later. Sarah replied within the hour. We met the next morning at a small coffee shop. She was wary, her hands wrapped tightly around her mug. I didn't waste time. I just slid my phone across the table, opened to the photo of our spouses at the resort. The color drained from her face. He told me it was a mandatory leadership summit, she whispered. He even had a fake itinerary. We sat there for a minute, 2 strangers connected by betrayal. We realized they worked for a corporation with a very strict code of conduct. Using company resources for a personal trip, let alone an affair between a department head and his subordinate, was a fireable offense. It wasn't just cheating, it was fraud. Sarah, once the shock wore off, became just as methodical as me. This isn't just personal, Liam, she said, her voice hardening. They've involved their employer. That's the leverage. We formulated a plan. Sarah would draft an email to the company's head of human resources and CC the senior vice president of Qley and Mark's entire division. It would be polite, professional, and devastating. It would express the concern of a spouse who had discovered a potential misuse of company funds and a serious violation of the employee code of conduct, complete with the time-stamped photo. Meanwhile, I got another text from Qley. Qley, this project is so intense. Barely sleeping, but we're making amazing progress. Can't wait to tell you about it. Love you. The love you was like a punch to the gut. I just replied, sounds good. Stay focused. 2 days later, Sarah sent the email. The bomb was officially deployed. Update 2, 3 weeks later. It's been a whirlwind. I feel less like a person and more like a crisis manager, but my grim determination has only solidified. Less than 12 hours after Sarah's email, Qley and Mark received frantic calls from their SVP. Their corporate cards were frozen. They were ordered onto the first flight home for an urgent HR review. Qley got home late the next night. I was sitting in the living room, having already moved her things into the spare bedroom. She stormed in, her face a mask of outrage. There was no apology, no remorse, just pure fury. What did you do? She screamed. I responded to the situation you created, I said calmly. You ruined my career, my life, all because you couldn't handle me needing a few extra days to work. The resort looked lovely, I said. The swim-up bar seemed great for project rollouts. Her jaw dropped. Caught. But the anger just shifted. You had no right. You spied on me. Just then, her sister, Jessica, burst through the door, obviously primed to be her backup. Liam, you are a monster, Jessica yelled. She made one tiny mistake. She was stressed. A good husband would have been more supportive, not tried to destroy her. I told Qley she had 1 week to find somewhere else to stay, as I was filing for divorce. The house was in my name, purchased before we met, and her name wasn't on the deed. Of course, the dirty trick started. The next day, I got a call from my own HR department. An anonymous complaint had been filed, suggesting I was exhibiting erratic behavior due to a volatile domestic situation. It was transparently Qley's doing. Thankfully, my boss knows me well. I calmly explained we were separating due to her infidelity. The complaint was dismissed. Then came the calls from her parents. First her mom, crying about her poor, devastated daughter. Then her dad, yelling that I had a duty to support Qley, especially now that I'd gotten her fired. Their sense of entitlement is breathtaking. They genuinely see her as the victim. A lawyer is retained. The divorce is in motion. The lines are drawn. Final update, 6 months later. It's over. The divorce was finalized last week. The last 6 months have been a masterclass in dealing with a level of entitlement I didn't think was possible. As predicted, both Qley and Mark were fired. The evidence was irrefutable. Lying on an expense report to fund an affair was a case of gross misconduct. Sarah's divorce from Mark was swift. He gave her almost everything she asked for to avoid a public fight that would further damage his professional reputation. Qley's fallout was more spectacular because she refused to accept it. She moved in with her sister, a situation that imploded after a month of Jessica funding her lifestyle. Her main attack was on me. She lawyered up and came after everything. She demanded half the value of my premarital house and lifelong spousal support. Arguing her affair was a cry for help caused by my emotional neglect. My revenge wasn't loud. It was my lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman, calmly presenting reality in mediation. We presented, * the deed to the house, signed 5 years before I met Qley. * the documented evidence of her infidelity and the fraudulent business trip. * the record of the anonymous and malicious HR complaint she filed against me at my job in a clear act of bad faith. Her lawyer's case crumbled. The judge was not impressed, noting that her current financial hardship was a direct and foreseeable consequence of her own choices, which included marital infidelity and professional misconduct. The final score. * the house. She got nothing. * spousal support. She was awarded a pittance in rehabilitative alimony for just 12 months, barely enough to cover rent on a small apartment. * legal fees. She was ordered to pay her own. I heard through Sarah, we've become good platonic friends, that Qley had to borrow money from her parents to pay her lawyer. She's working an entry-level job and complains constantly about how I ruined her life. There has been no apology, no glimmer of self-awareness. I've blocked her, her sister, and her parents on every platform. The silence is profound. My house, which I've since repainted, feels like mine again. The stress and legal costs were significant, but the peace is priceless. She wanted to extend her trip. I just made sure she had all the time in the world to deal with the consequences.